All right, welcome back. Oulton Park without Brittens. Um, Season 3, 2024. Just a little rant before we get started. So, with the rain last year, um, I really did not have a lot of fun racing in the rain. So, I tried the fixed setup. For those of you who are watching, if you've only been doing the fixed setup, I really recommend giving the trophy series a try, the open setup. The fixed setup is not a lot of fun either. The car has so much understeer. The car does not have very good turn in. It is not lively. It is two different cars. The Ray with an open setup, with a decent setup, is so much more fun to drive than the fixed. So if you are new to this channel, if you haven't tried the open setup, give it a try. Use my track or use my setup guide. Use the Iracing guide. It's not all that bad. Or make up your own setup. You will have a lot more fun. You will appreciate the car a lot more. In all honesty, after doing a season of driving the fixed for the Formula Ford, I would rather drive the Skip Barber. It's more fun than the fixed setup for the Formula Ford. So just a little rant here before we get started. So we will get started. Here's the setup. It is not a lot of different from the last time we were at Oulton Park. I think it is a pretty darn good setup. Ride height is minus 17 in the front, so almost, actually I think that is about as low as it goes. Damper compression's up a little bit, 24. Brake bias, again, that's an individual thing, but 55% for me. Spring rates, as soft as they go, front and back, to give the car a little bit more grip. Camber, if you know my channel, you know I play around with that a little bit. So it's a little bit more cambered on the left because there is sure a lot more action going on the left hand side. So little difference between left and right sides. Toe in 1.3. You could argue to have that maybe a 1.4, just a little bit more turn in if you want to give that a try, but 1.3 is pretty good. Gives it a little bit of understeer, which is not a bad thing on this track. So, rear toe in 0.2 plus 0.2, just a little bit. Rear ride height minus 16, so just not quite as low as the front. ARB is 15 mils. That does give the car some good rotation. I don't think you'd want any more than that, honestly. Again, these high-speed corners, you do not want to lose the back end. Rear compression is left the same. And oh, actually, it's a little bit different there. The rebound on the damper compression is up a little bit. 14 liters, that will get you to the end. 13 might do it, and then the difference is without the Brittens, the little chicane there is a longer straightaway. So it's a standard gear stack. The short gear stack does feel nice around this track, but unfortunately in the straights you are gonna come up short. So standard gear stack. So as usual, we'll get into the lap in slow-mo and then run it out at full speed. Track is 29 degrees, so I'm not in an official practice session because the season hasn't started yet, but it should be around 20 degrees air temp. It didn't give what time of day it should be, so I have it in the morning, so it's 29 degrees, so it might be a little cooler, might be a little bit hotter. Just keep that in mind. If it is hotter, grip is going to be a little less than what it is right now. So coming into turn 1, looking for the yellow bit of the sign here. In fourth gear, little bit of brake shifting down into third, and then turning in. Now you want to make sure you don't brake too early and turn in too early. This is a late apex, and if you run this wide, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get an X, maybe even a slowdown. Get onto this curb, and then picking up the throttle as early as you can. Just make sure you don't gun it too much. You could lose that back end, or you could push wide. If you get an X here, if you cross this line, I think you can even get all 4 tires onto the grasscrete and just get an X. Not the end of the world. However, if you go real wide, or if you come out wide past the curb here, then you will get a slowdown, and it is a painful one, so watch out for that. Just coming into the next section here, can be a passing opportunity, so watch out. Somebody could go up the inside here. Looking for this little dip and just braking before you actually dip. If you brake in the dip, the car is going to get a lot less unsteady, or it's going to be a lot less steady, let's say that. Getting on the brakes, third gear, just a pretty good blast of brakes just to slow the car down. This is off camber, this section here, so you do not want to be coming in here too hot, and you do not want to be putting in a lot of steering input here. Picking up the throttle just to keep that back end compliant, and then getting hopefully up to full throttle here as early as possible, hugging that corner tight and unwinding the wheel. And this is a bit of voodoo. You get an X out here, and I don't know what the official reason is. I have crossed the white line here. I did not get an X. I am on the grasscrete. I did not get an X. Sometimes I thought that's what the thing was. It could be if half of your car is over the white line, that's where you pick up the X. Just be really careful, especially on your quali lap. This one, just make sure you don't really cross much over that white line for your quali lap. In the race, again, if you pick up an X, not the end of the world. So just watch out. That one is really tricky for catching X's. And this is going to be another big passing opportunity here, so just be aware of that. So coming in here, if you are not passing someone or defending, you're looking for the gravel bit here. You want to get your tire just over on the right there as much as possible to open this up as much as possible. Leaving it in fourth, just a little bit of a lift, more of a lift on the first lap or two, and you really want to get tucked into this, get on the curbs, and try and cut this corner as much as possible. Now, you can do this full throttle. You can do that whole section full throttle. If you do, you are going to push wide, and if you're defending against somebody, that might actually be the best way to do it. However, if you're trying to go fast, you do have to get over to the left-hand side here, and if you go through that corner full throttle, it's going to be awfully hard to get over to the left-hand side. So, getting on the brakes here, I'm probably on the brakes here a little bit early, looking for that little marker here, the tires, and there's this little green marker up here. Braking between the two, you can brake a little closer to this green marker, depending on how good you are on the brakes. Shifting down into second, and it is hard on the brakes. And then just releasing the brakes as you turn in here. Again, if you're hard on the brakes and you're turning the wheel through this section, even though it is quite cambered, that back end is going to kick out, so watch out. And then picking up the throttle as early as possible, well before you're around the corner here, and that gets you a good exit. And it's really important on this configuration to get a good exit through this corner. The chicane is gone, so it is going to be one straightaway, and the sooner you get on that power, the better you're going to be going through that straight. So just be aware that you do not want to screw that corner up. You're going to lose a lot of time if you do. So obviously big passing opportunity here, especially if the guy in front of you messed it up. You are going to get some draft and be able to go by. Practice defensive lines here. This corner is pretty good to defend against. This chicane's pretty tight, so just beware of that. Looking for the 100 board just before it. Getting on the brakes pretty heavy. You can go in a little deeper. However, you're going to compromise your speed through the chicane if you go in too deep. And then just releasing the brakes as you come to the tire barrier here, getting as close as you can without leaving your tire on the barrier. And then again, just trying to work your way over to the right a bit to open this up. And then trying to get on the power as early as you can, reel up tight against that barrier, and then getting the car over to the left. Again, this is to open up the next one because it is a pretty good little section of full throttle, so you do want to open this up. You want to get your tire even just skimming the grass there, just to help rotate the car a little bit. And then just you have to watch coming through here. There is a real depression here once you get off the red and white. It can grab your tire, so just be careful through there. I took a little bit there, had to do a little lift, and then picking up the throttle. And then using all of the red and white curb here, you can even get on the grasscrete. It is okay, you won't get the X. I think if you cross this white line, you do get the X. So now there can be passing opportunity up through here, so watch out. Somebody may try and go up the inside here, and looking for this yellow and green marker in fourth gear. Gonna give it a little bit of brakes, shifting down into third, and it's important. You're kind of looking for this other red and green and white barrier. Again, you don't want to turn in too early here, and you don't want to turn in too late. This is a tricky section. If you've done this track, you know this is a tricky section. Easy to lose it there or run wide and get onto the grass and sand, and a whole bunch of trouble ensues. The really important thing is I find you do want to get right up tight against the curb here, and picking up the throttle as early as possible. Again, this is a pretty good straight, pretty good section coming up here to pass, so if you mess this up, you can be a sitting duck, so watch out. And then picking up that throttle just to keep that back end steady, and you can make use of the curb here. There's not a lot of runoff though. Watch out, you get on that grass, it's going to really slow you down, and if you get too much on it, you're going to crash. So this is a tricky one for a braking marker, so you can watch for this sign. There is a marshal box up here. I don't think you can see it just yet. There's also a dip in the track. So a few things to look for. Basically, once you start the downhill dip here, that's when you want to get on the brakes. Shifting down from fourth into second, pretty hard braking zone here. If you go in too deep, it's pretty easy to lock up the rear, and you do not want to be, again, turning the wheel here too much with the brake pressure on. You want to be releasing the brakes and then turning the wheel. If you have the brakes on too hard, that back end is going to kick out. Getting right up against these curbs and picking up the throttle as early as possible, because you are going to be full throttle again here for a little bit until turn 1. And then unwinding the wheel, make use of the red and white curb out here. You don't really want to get on the grass. That's going to slow you down a little bit, but it's not terrible if you graze it. Tight line up through here. You don't want to run wide. That is not faster. And this section does set up for a good passing opportunity, so practice the defensive line here going into turn 1, and that is a 1:39.7. So pretty decent time, I think. Definitely my optimum is a 1:39.4, so I did leave some time on the table there for sure. Probably going to be people 39 flats, I would bet, the really top-notch drivers. So if you can get into the mid 139s, you should be able to put up a decent chance for a top 5. So good luck out there. We'll see you next time.